Does Justin Bieber help with the kids at all, or?
No, only...
That's the rumor. I know y'all are just friends, right? Or are you really dating him?
We're friends.
You're friends?
Yes.
Why are you smiling that way?
That I am pregnant.
We're friends.
You're smiling as if that maybe it's beyond friends.
I've been smiling this whole time since I've been
No,
sitting
no,
here.
not like that. That was a whole different thing. We're just telling us about her and Justin Bieber and their relationship. She went so far into detail, I was really surprised.
I heard you know more about that than I would.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
you were there.
Yeah.
On your Instagram.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What?
When you said friends.
Oh, yeah.
For years, the question of who fathered Reign Disick has been one of the Kardashian family's most persistent mysteries. A rumor that just refused to die, no matter how many times people tried to bury it. It wasn't just some random gossip started by bored fans online. This theory grew because every single piece of the puzzle seemed to point in the same direction, creating a story that was almost too suspicious to ignore. From the uncanny resemblance between Reign and a certain global superstar, to the strange timing of Kourtney's pregnancy, to the moments when even Scott himself appeared unsure of his place in his own family, this situation has never been as simple as it looked on camera. And the wildest part is that it all began long before Reign was even born, back when the Kardashians were still in the middle of building their empire, and Justin Bieber was starting to eclipse every celebrity in his age group. When he entered their world, everything changed. Headlines, relationships, and the family's dynamic. Fans watched closely, noticing how often Justin seemed to orbit the Kardashians at the exact moments new scandals or storylines were needed. So when Kourtney suddenly became pregnant during one of the tensest periods of her relationship with Scott, the internet naturally connected the dots. And for almost a decade, nobody had a real answer. But all of that finally shifted when Kourtney made a decision she had been avoiding for years, taking a paternity test that could silence the rumors forever, or ignite them like never before. Long before anyone suspected a deeper connection between Kourtney and Justin, the groundwork for this entire rumor was quietly being laid by the family themselves. It all began with Kim, who was absolutely convinced that Justin Bieber was the perfect golden ticket for boosting the family's relevance during the early 2010s. At the time, Kendall was just 14 and trying to break into modeling, while Justin was already becoming one of the most talked about teens in the world. Kim openly joked, and not so jokingly hinted, that she wanted Kendall and Justin to get together because she thought it would instantly elevate Kendall's career. Kris was fully on board too, seeing Justin as the ultimate way to attach the family to a rising star who dominated every headline. What seemed like harmless matchmaking was actually the moment Justin got pulled into the Kardashian orbit, and once he was in, he never really got out. He started showing up at events, hanging out with them, and becoming a familiar face in their circle. Fans noticed how strangely close he appeared with multiple sisters, which only fueled more speculation. But at first, it was nothing more than whispers, jokes, comments, small overlaps that people brushed off. Nobody imagined it would later tie into a full-blown paternity scandal. Yet looking back, this was the spark. This was the moment that opened the door for Justin to slip into storylines, photos, and rumors that stretched far beyond what anyone expected. And soon, one Kardashian in particular would become the center of it all. Once Justin was firmly woven into the Kardashian circle, the dynamic between him and Kourtney began shifting in ways that fans could not ignore. What started as casual interactions slowly turned into something that looked a lot more intimate, especially around 2014 and 2015, when Kourtney's relationship with Scott was falling apart publicly. Kourtney was newly single, frustrated, and tired of Scott's constant partying, while Justin was in his early 20s, wildly popular, and already known for getting close to nearly every woman he crossed paths with. The two began popping up in the same places far too often for it to be coincidence. They were spotted leaving restaurants separately, only for Kourtney to slip into Justin's car afterward. They were photographed at the same events, always just close enough to raise suspicion, but never close enough to confirm anything. The moment that really made fans stop and question the nature of their relationship was their night at Universal Studios' Hollywood Horror Nights. Witnesses said they were acting way too flirty to be just friends. And Justin had his hands around her most of the night. When asked about Kourtney later, Justin tried to brush it off, saying there was nothing there, but his tone made people think he was hiding something. Then came the drama with Hailey, who reportedly didn't want Justin speaking to Kourtney at all. An odd rule if Kourtney was truly just a friend. All these pieces created a timeline that felt suspiciously close, and for many people, this was the moment the rumor stopped being a joke and started feeling real. The real chaos began when people started comparing dates, photos, and events. Realizing the timeline between Justin and Kourtney lined up almost perfectly with the window when Reign would have been conceived. Reign was born on December 14th, which places his conception around March, a month that happened to be one of the most unstable periods in Kourtney and Scott's relationship. Scott was spiraling, battling depression, and disappearing for days at a time. He was also seen with multiple women, barely making contact with Kourtney during that stretch. Meanwhile, Kourtney and Justin were suddenly everywhere together, drawing attention with late-night outings, secret meetups, and interactions that looked way too comfortable for two people claiming to be nothing more than friends. Fans on Reddit and Instagram began stitching together timelines, comparing where each person was at specific dates. They pulled screenshots of Justin and Kourtney leaving the same places within minutes of each other, analyzed paparazzi photos, and even matched up their outfits from nights they were allegedly together. Then came the comparisons of Reign's features to Justin's, side-by-side images showing identical expressions, similar eyes, and a resemblance that many found impossible to ignore. The fan theories gained momentum because the timeline felt suspiciously accurate, and Scott himself wasn't helping the situation. His own doubts, expressed years later, mirrored what fans had been thinking all along. The combination of timing, resemblance, and secrecy turned what could have been dismissed as a rumor into one of the biggest Kardashian mysteries ever, and it only got messier from here. Scott Disick's reaction to Kourtney's pregnancy with Reign is one of the biggest reasons this rumor refused to fade. Unlike the excitement he showed when Mason was born, or even the complicated but emotional reaction during Penelope's arrival, Scott's response to the news of Reign felt cold, distant, and strangely tense. When Kourtney told him she was pregnant again, there wasn't even a flicker of joy on his face. He looked shocked, almost numb, and didn't offer the usual congratulations or affection you'd expect from someone about to welcome another child. And his reaction made sense in hindsight, because that period of their relationship was a disaster. Scott wasn't around much that month, barely speaking to Kourtney as he struggled with depression and spent long stretches away from home. He later admitted he wasn't in the right headspace to be a partner, let alone a father again, which made the timing of the pregnancy almost unbelievable to him. The more he thought about it, the less sense it made. And when he did the math, Scott started questioning whether the baby could even be his. He eventually asked Kourtney for a paternity test, which shocked fans because she'd agreed to one immediately for Mason years earlier when rumors circulated about another man. But this time, she refused. Her refusal created even more doubt, not just for Scott, but for everyone watching. If she had nothing to hide, why deny it? And why avoid the conversation so aggressively? That single decision planted years of suspicion, and for Scott, it marked the moment he began doubting everything he thought he knew. What most people didn't know at the time was that Kourtney's refusal to take a paternity test wasn't just about protecting her privacy or avoiding drama with Scott. It was rooted in a much deeper fear she never admitted publicly. Behind the cameras, insiders claimed Kourtney genuinely wasn't sure who Reign's father was, and that uncertainty terrified her. During the months when she and Scott were constantly fighting, Kourtney wasn't sitting at home waiting for him to fix things. She was going out, surrounding herself with friends, and, according to multiple reports, spending time with more than one man. Justin was the name that made headlines, but he wasn't the only one in the picture during that chaotic phase. The idea that the baby could belong to someone else, or that the truth might spiral into a massive scandal, kept Kourtney frozen. She didn't want another embarrassing storyline overshadowing her life or her children. And even though the rumors weighed heavily on her, she hated the idea of doing something as clinical and stressful as a DNA test when she was already overwhelmed. Over the years, the gossip grew louder, not quieter. Reign started getting older, and Kourtney began realizing that one day he would stumble onto these rumors online. That thought broke her. She didn't want her son questioning where he came from, or thinking she kept secrets from him. Between the pressure from the public, the tension within the family, and her own guilt, Kourtney reached a point where she knew this lingering question wasn't going away on its own. Something had to give. As the years passed, the weight of the rumor became impossible for Kourtney to ignore. What started as internet gossip had grown into a full-blown narrative that followed her everywhere. Interviews, social media, public events, even casual comments from fans who thought they were being funny. But the real turning point came when Justin became a father himself. Suddenly, his name was back in every headline. Old clips resurfaced, and the rumor reignited with more intensity than ever. Scott, who had lived with quiet doubt for nearly a decade, brought up the subject again. Not with anger, but with exhaustion. He wanted clarity, not only for himself, but for Reign. And this time, he wasn't the only one pushing for answers. Travis, now a constant presence in Kourtney's life, encouraged her to settle the matter so the family could move forward without shadows hanging over their relationships. Kim and Khloe also stepped in, gently telling her that facing the truth was better than living with endless speculation. Still, Kourtney resisted. The idea of taking the test triggered anxiety so intense that she avoided the conversation for weeks. Eventually, after one particularly overwhelming moment of online gossip, Khloe took matters into her own hands. She drove Kourtney to the clinic herself. Kourtney panicked, hesitating at the door, her hands shaking as she tried to convince herself to walk away. Khloe stayed by her side, calming her down until she finally stepped inside. The samples were taken quickly, but the emotional toll lingered. Then came the worst part, waiting 5 long days for results that could change everything. When the results finally arrived, Kourtney felt her stomach drop before she even opened the message. After years of avoiding the truth, this moment carried the weight of every rumor, every argument, and every quiet fear she had tried to push aside. She sat with the envelope, or, according to some insiders, the email, hesitating for several minutes before finally gathering the courage to look. And what she saw was something almost nobody expected. Scott was confirmed as Reign's biological father. The tension that had hovered over their family for nearly a decade suddenly broke. Scott reportedly felt a wave of relief wash over him, not because he didn't love Reign already, but because the uncertainty had haunted him for so long. He was grateful that Kourtney finally took the step he'd been begging for, and even more relieved that the bond he always felt with Reign had a concrete foundation. But Kourtney's reaction was far more complex. She was relieved, of course, but also shocked. Insiders claimed she doubted the result because she truly didn't know what to expect, given the chaos of that period in her life. Part of her had feared what the test might reveal, not just for Scott, but for Reign himself. The outcome lifted a massive burden off her shoulders, yet it also forced her to confront how deeply the rumors had affected her over the years. For the first time, the narrative had a factual answer. Still, despite the clear results, the story wasn't over because the public wasn't ready to let go. Even with the paternity test confirming Scott as Reign's father, a huge portion of the internet refuses to accept the result. And honestly, the reasons run deeper than simple gossip. For many fans, the timeline is just too perfectly aligned with Kourtney and Justin's most intense period of friendship, making it hard to believe the test settled everything. The internet has a long memory, and people still remember the paparazzi photos, the late-night outings, the horror nights trip, and the undeniable chemistry that Justin and Kourtney tried so hard to downplay. Then there's the resemblance factor. Side-by-side photos of Reign and Justin continue circulating every few months, each time going viral again because the similarities are almost eerie. Some believe that facial features don't lie, and no test result can convince them otherwise. Another layer comes from the Kardashian family's history of controlling their public image. They've been accused before of shaping narratives, hiding scandals, and crafting storylines to maintain the brand. So when news broke that Kourtney privately took the test, some people questioned how independent the process truly was. Did the family choose the clinic? Was the test done publicly or privately? Why were the results only shared through insiders? These unanswered questions are what keep the theory alive. And some fans argue that the test result benefits everyone. Scott gets closure, Kourtney avoids scandal, Justin's name is cleared, and the family cleans up a rumor that's been embarrassing them for years. With so many convenient outcomes, people wonder if the truth is more complicated than what we've been told. And that's why, for many, this mystery refuses to die. Even after the test results, after the insiders spoke, and after the family tried to finally put the story to rest, the question of Reign's real father still lingers in corners of the internet like a shadow that refuses to fade. That's the thing about rumors born inside the Kardashian universe. They don't disappear just because someone says they're over. They take on a life of their own. For nearly a decade, this theory grew through leaked photos, suspicious timelines, awkward interviews, and a level of secrecy that only made people more certain something was being hidden. And once a rumor reaches that scale, the truth almost stops mattering. People believe what feels dramatic, what feels chaotic, what feels like it could genuinely happen in a family that built their empire on televised conflict. Even now, some fans say the timing still makes no sense, others point to Reign's features, and a few insist the result is too convenient to trust. Meanwhile, others argue the story was always exaggerated, and the test finally cleared a man who's carried doubt for years. But no matter which side people fall on, this paternity mystery has become more than a simple question. It's become a symbol of how the Kardashian world operates, filled with secrets, speculation, and storylines that feel like they belong in a reality show more than real life. So the test may have given an answer, but the conversation is far from over. And the real question now is the one only the audience can decide. Did the truth finally come out? Or was this just another chapter in the family's endless PR machine?